Hello, welcome to another Near Running cast. As always, my name is Johno, and I'm joined once again by Joey. How you doing, Joey?
Very good, thank you. Excited about this game.
Yes, me too. So we're into the
great players.
we're into the fourth round of the double elimination UK Nationals, and as you say, we have two great players. On the left, we have Tim Fowler, who's part of this K-Dev. He's an excellent player.
Excellent, mate. Famous in the Netrunner community.
That is true.
As Tim. In the UK Netrunner community.
And on the right, we have Quintin Smith. You may have heard of.
More famous in the wider board gaming community.
Quinns to his friends. And he's piloting his...
Quinns to his friends.
His Gagarin. And everyone
the
else.
whole of the internet, yeah.
Piloting his Gagarin deck. It was quite a star-studded event at the UK Nationals, actually. I mean, both the Runners Kit guys were there. We saw Chris, obviously, in an early video. And Quinns is there as well. And and then there's the Netrunner celebrities, the likes of...
Dave Holland,
likes of Tim Fowler as well, it's quite a big game.
That's an unfortunate start.
Yes, that is true. So it will be interesting to see what Quinn's game plan is with Gagarin, because it is an interesting idea.
Everyone knows, sure. everyone's seen this.
Yeah.
But
it'll be interesting to see it in action at least.
Yeah, it will be.
So as you say, an early agenda picked from R&D. I guess that's what happens if you don't ice at R&D. He's lucky it wasn't a Maker's Eye, maybe. And this is Christian Grid as well. So I guess Christian Grid is an interesting one. If you've got an event-based pressure, which Tim probably does, Maker's Eye, that kind of thing, you probably want to trash it, but maybe you want to wait for it to be installed or even rezzed.
You don't trash it off R&D. You're not doing that, especially when you're playing against blue cards, green cards even. You want to be keeping that money. So.
We had we've got Jackson. So is it possible that having rezzed and then used the Jackson twice, that Quinns is trying to filter out some agendas?
Maybe. He's still got an NPD in hand as well. Tim importantly puts down the Proco, which is...
That's a good one to get early.
And Laundry's forcing the shuffle, which is a really, really strong turn economically from Tim. He's totally negated the initial cost of the Proco going down. He's now got draw and money for the long game. He's really good board state.
So he dirty laundered into archives, and Quinns uses Jackson to return both cards. There are only two cards in fact, but it's fair to say at least one of them is an agenda. I don't really know what to expect from this deck.
Sure.
Presumably he's going to go wide.
I have played against it.
I mean, many people pick up Gagarin and say, "Oh, it's the wide Wayland deck, so I want all the assets." Now I believe that
he did that.
I believe that's where Quinn started. He went all the assets and then kind of trimmed it, so it has assets, but not tons. So it'd be quite interesting to see the balance. It was obviously competitive enough to get into top 16, well into top 16.
I think his primary win condition's the kill. It still is.
Oh, really?
It's still. He taxes you out. You either ignore everything, and then that's a problem.
Yeah.
Or you actually keep on top of the assets. He makes servers that are expensive to get through to check what they're going to be, and he gets the kill. I think that's most often his main win condition. But
maybe you're right.
He certainly almost scored out against me. Scoring out is definitely a thing this deck can do.
Shadow. So Shadow is an interesting one. It threatens to tag, but it also kind of, I don't know. It's.
I don't even know. It went too fast. I don't know what Shadow does.
It gives the Corp credits. Corp gains 2, and it has a trace to take a time. So it's an interesting one. It's just an economic pressure. Okay, so another agenda loss to R&D. But obviously Tim has to pay for this one, so yeah. But you're at the point where, because he's got 4 points, I mean, things like punitive come to the table. Actually, I'm going to go on a limb and assume there is no punitive. We've got 2 point agendas, so it's going to be Scorch and Cecil Scorch. Okay, alright. So,
or mid-season Scorch, but I think probably Cecil Scorch.
So stealing is not what you're worried about. What you're worried about is...
digging. This is the... I think it's taken him a while to get set up. Unfortunately, he didn't have quite the first economy. Tim's got the access, he's stealing the agenda and stayed alive, so Quinn's a bit on the back foot here, trying to get some money, get some ice rezzed.
Yeah, he needs to get... Yeah, that's right. He needs to try and get a little bit of economy going and, get some ice up, get something to keep Kate out. I mean, the Shadow is not going to keep keep Cat out indefinitely.
Not the short gamble.
No.
Being played, so Quinns isn't boosting that trace if you run there.
So Parasite makes short work of Shadow, actually next turn. So I guess you want to ice. Ice HQ. Ice R&D.
Hedge funds.
So he just drew a hedge, yeah.
That's going to be great. Credit hedge, and then hopefully he has a piece of ice.
Yeah, I also seen that he's got not play actually. He's got paywall implementation in hand as well.
Leaving R&D wide open, he does that.
Yeah, I think I agree. But that's an interesting one. That it depends if he has faith in R&D, maybe.
Yeah. And maybe at this point you have to take the risk.
Because if you play it
put
and
paywall down and be like,
if you play it and he steals an agenda, it immediately goes away. So then what? But if you play it,
also
and he doesn't
if he steals an agenda here, you're going to find it hard to win the game.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, maybe you're right.
If you've got a piece of ice that you think will stop him, but maybe you put paywall down and force him to go top it. He does.
So he does eventually play paywall implementation. It's almost like a new.
It's almost like he knew. Well predicted.
I mean, yeah. Yeah, so I don't know, as you say, I mean, and he took a long time to decide. It's a tough decision.
It's the right decision if there's no agenda on top.
That's right.
Which statistically is less likely
to work
than
out.
not.
So, and paywall implementation obviously does make him money every time he runs. So if it's all about, there you go, that's fine. And maybe even install that ice wall, who knows? Yeah, so it kind of paid off. As you say, it could have gone very badly. So clone chip. I'm not sure what of importance is in the bin. Well, Parasite, obviously. Yeah.
Enigma's not going to last forever. And that ice wall would be...
That's true. If he installs the ice wall, it'll die.
So that clone chip's huge, but Quinn's looking a little bit better. Got some money, which is nice.
So Tim asks Quinns how much money he has, referring to, his type of deck. Quinns takes from. But Tim makes a very, very valid point that he's already seen stuff that tags, so he knows what the game is. And Quinn's bluff, if it ever was,
I don't think there was ever much doubt about this, but yeah, he's got an ice R&D here.
Yeah, icing R&D is a priority. I mean, it's Shaper, so there's going to be makers or R&D interface or both in that deck, so you can't leave it undefended for long. I mean,
you've seen the ice wall. I don't know if you put the ice wall down, but that's what Tim's going to assume it is either way.
Yeah, it's possible, and he can with a clone chip he can run it. I mean, I actually don't know if he's got Deus Ex, that kind of thing in. I assume he'll have Deus Ex in his deck. He may not have in his heat though.
He'll definitely have sharpshooter. Deus Ex maybe, probably.
I think. Yeah, sorry, I'll say that. Makes it sound like he definitely has. He might have. I'm not sure. He might have some solution though if it's something a bit nastier. So Astrobe's quite a nice one if you expect.
So he was going to put it right in the middle of the table, John.
That's right. He tied it up.
Your voice in the back of his head thinking, I'm going to put it over here with some other hardware.
So what's funny is he did, because I was actually stood behind him to his left. So,
right, he actually had you.
I was right there.
Saying, Tim, where are you going to put that?
No, of course I would not distract him, but he's started cleaning up a lot, and I appreciate it.
You can find one of those mats that has like where you should put everything on it, like
the beginner
mat, like hardware here, console over here.
I would not ever insult him. I think he's an excellent player.
He is an excellent player, clearly by the fact that he's in the top 8 of nationals.
Okay, so
so what is this unresed remote?
Well, Quinns is thinking about it quite a lot. So I guess it's tough. He's trying. We'll find out what it is eventually. But it's obviously quite an interesting decision to make. So instead, installs ice on the remote and installs in it and advances. And puts credit, not the pad. There you go. What do you reckon? Is this an agenda? Yes, we do have the ice on the remote. But he bounces, didn't do anything about it. Does some more Procos type stuff. He's not tempted to run this remote, so...
that's a good decision for Tim.
He maybe doesn't feel like he can get into it.
Yeah, he does have an SMC on the table. I don't know if there's one in the bin.
It's 3 advance. What is it?
Atlas.
Atlas. And, more importantly, Joey, it's an Atlas with a counter. So, also, sitting next to me, while I was watching this game, was Lee. Now, obviously... Lee
Alexander.
That's right, Lee Alexander.
Sure.
Yeah.
There was also I was sitting behind him as well, next to Lee, and there was also a baby behind us, I think.
Was that Ian's baby?
That was Ian's baby behind us as well. So there was loads around.
That was the baby that was at Nationals, yeah. Okay, so Lee's many things. What she was on this day was Quinns' cheerleading section. So when he scored the Atlas with a counter on it, she was delighted. And she made a specific comment that it's as good as an Astro. It's the Astro of this deck, right?
Sure.
It starts the train, obviously it's not a train as such, but it starts whatever devious machinations it needs it to be. It gets the C-source if you need the C-source, or if you don't, it gets the score, whatever, or it gets the economy to play both. It's very useful to have.
When there's one down there, like playing against someone with a C-source, with an Atlas counter is...
So, even though he's giving it up, Tim decides he's going to pressure, so he uses the Parasite Trash Ice Wall, and he does then Makers. And as you can see, he stole an Atlas, so he's on 6 points. He did see a C-source, so he knows that there's a risk.
And there's a hedge fund there as well, isn't there?
Yeah,
and there's
that's
an
right.
Atlas counter.
Yeah, and then he procos a couple of times to get... Now, that's obviously a great card against something like this, because it gives you cards and money.
Sure. If he's got 2 Scorches in hand or C-Scorch in hand, that's not quite game, because he hasn't quite got...
He would need C-source and 2 Scorches, yeah, he wouldn't be able to land a trace, so he needs a bit more economy, but if he can, say, get, I don't know, 6 credits ahead,
yep.
And just wait for Kate to make a successful run, then yeah, that's a problem. Even if he's only got 2 of them, because of the Atlas counter.
Yeah, no, it's...
Quinns is going to use Jackson Howard twice, in fact. So he's looking for something, and he's sort of an upgrade in R&D. So, do you think he got whatever it was he was looking for?
Well, we know there was a C-source.
Because he only did it twice. Tim runs R&D and sees a Crystal Grid. He doesn't trash it, and sees a Data Raven. Now that's exactly the kind of card you want to see if you're Quinns. So it's going to tax the hell out of you if you put it on R&D.
You don't want to be running through that.
It's going to cost you clicks.
Yeah, I mean, if he hasn't got a way of breaking it at the minute, so you don't want to let the trace fire. So,
So Pro goes twice, and then a modded to install a very nice Alt-Art Gordian Blade.
Yeah, I mean, I like this play. I mean, he hasn't checked HQ yet, and you've got to assume. Well, there was Jacksoning, so maybe
there was Jackson. So if there is one in there, it's probably only one. He's not going to be flooded. So, and he's on 6 points. I feel like he can just kind of wait. He can just every couple of turns he can just check R&D. We're looking at 2 1-point agendas, 2 and 1-point agendas. Right, there's not going to be 3. So, there's going to be agendas kicking around that he can steal. He's just got to wait for them. The Christian Grid's annoying because it will foil any kind of Maker's Eye shenanigans. So that's an issue.
It's a pity. I think if Quintin had more just double hedge funds.
Yeah.
And he was holding them back just like for the burst, but no, it's a bit he didn't get more trickle economy money, because I think that one pads campaign's done work. If he'd have had a few more of them, the economy, he'd have had that earlier economic swing, and maybe Tim wouldn't be alive right now.
Yeah, maybe you're right. I mean, I don't know if he's got the kill in hand. Tim is making successful runs. Tim's obviously not worried. Maybe he's a bit worried. So we get 2 Procos and a Lucky Find.
Yeah, he's worried. So he's still not got. Tim's still not set up though. So
no, he's only got 1 breaker.
Going for a score is dangerous with
He's got 1 breaker and 1 clone chip, and I think this is what Quinns is looking for. He's just going to have a quick look through the heap, see what he's got. He's only really got Parasite and Claw. He doesn't have any breakers to speak of. Not useful.
Makes going a hostile takeover.
Yes, that's true. If he wants to use a clot on stopping a hostile takeover.
Well, you could then just nip it for the game, right? He's on 6 points.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. But I guess the problem is he can't break anything except code gates. So, yeah. So he's thinking about now, because he's got access to so few breakers. You get the feeling that Quinns thinks this might be a window. He just needs to take advantage of it. So maybe it looks like he's trying to choose between a couple of pieces of ice. Maybe he's trying to work out which one is the best one for Tim to kind of stumble through, and he installs a card behind it. So is that an agenda? Maybe it's another Atlas?
I think he's trying to make him port. Must be.
He's trying to force him to... I mean, it could be a bluff as well, I guess. Maybe it's an Atlas. I mean, it's 3 ice. He's been doing a bit of Jackson filtering, so he's not flooded. Maybe he's just worried, given the score, about putting a 2-point agenda out there. Or maybe it's something totally different. It's tough to say.
He's thinking this is possibly the Data Raven, and it's expensive to res.
Yeah, so you're right, and Quinns is still. I'm just gonna tell you, this is a route.
It is a route.
It's
yeah.
a route, okay. And he's trying to work out if you should res it or not. They're tied on money, so I guess he thinks it will give him an economic advantage, not now, but very soon. So it will give him one turn behind, if you like, because it will cost him basically net 3 to res it, and he res a Data Raven for only 1. Tim declines to continue, so but it's useful that he knows it's there. Although he may not have a useful way of breaking it. Okay, so a vamp. So.
And that means he can check this remote now without.
Now, Quinns is in a position to. He's got a couple of things he can res if you'd like to do it now. For instance, Christian Grid on R&D.
Maybe the remote.
Maybe the remote, depends what's in it. Yeah, so.
You can pay for the Enigma. That's very kind.
Yes.
Letting Tim pay for the Enigma.
Yeah. So yeah, it's but Vamp is a really interesting one. I mean, Vamp. So we normally see Vamp pressuring RP, getting side game odds down to 0, so that you can low pass caprice.
It's like having a blackmail though into that remote, and you can't trigger traps or anything. So it's.
That's true. So the route does nothing. No access. Is it game? It's not. It's Jackson.
Yeah. So I think Quinn's plan there was to bait him in.
Or bluff.
But it didn't make him quite as poor as he was hoping because.
I mean, he spent a lot of money, but Quinns also suffered.
Yeah, he cleared the check. This route now is going to be really useful.
Yeah, and also, clear attacking the vamp obviously because
so that's high risk investment in hand is probably.
It's worth mentioning the route.
An advance class.
The route does everything except play events. So it fills it, advances, reses, everything but play events. So
and Tim's not really in a place to trash that yet. So
no, and it's not defended, which is quite an interesting decision. But maybe Quinns feels like he needs to get a couple of turns out of it, and then even if you trash it, he's ahead.
Yeah, that route will be quite useful for bouncing back if Tim lets it clear. Still, 1 credit isn't really where you want to be when you're trying to kill someone. Paywall. Nice.
Yeah, so another paywall implementation. He also used Jackson. So I guess the paywall implementation, because he's worried about Tim checking trashing some of these assets. We should remember, because we've been ignoring it the whole time, Gagarin's ability, which is the real reason he feels happy to totally leave these assets undefended. It costs an extra 1 to access before you trash. So trashing
when you're both on 2 credits,
trashing pack and pay is really annoying.
Yeah.
Trashing the route, so expensive. So you just don't want to do it. Even Jackson, paying 4 to trash Jackson,
and giving Quinns 1 from the paywall.
That's right.
It's tough. But I think exactly what Tim's doing right now is what's going to happen. Tim is going to sit back rich, and money up, and he is in no pressure. He's 6 points to 0. No, 6 points to 2. He's under no pressure to have to score. He can let Quinns score another agenda.
Having said that, the longer he waits, the more pieces of his combo Quinns gets. And then it becomes an economy game, because he's got the Atlas counter. He doesn't even need the whole combo anymore. He just needs to get rich.
But if he installs advances, then all you have to do, if your next successful run is the one where you steal an agenda, that doesn't matter what he's got in his hand.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. So he's going to possibly trash the Jacksons from installing that remote. I guess he's trying to work out the benefit of using both Jacksons, because obviously you can't play for rest at the same time. He decides that he's just going to trash it, because the res Jackson can return the unres Jackson if there's not a whole ton of agendas in archives. So he does install in that remote. Why is it?
I have no idea. There's so many things it could be. He could just be throwing agendas, getting agendas out of the way. He could be. It probably wasn't another Jackson.
Yeah, I'd say that's fair. It probably wasn't another Jackson. Because he's used 1, and there are 2 on the table.
Sure.
Yeah, so he installs another Arsenal R&D instead. The route pays, so he's getting some extra credits out the route. So now, if you're Tim in this position, I guess you just continue to draw and get your rig, and try and stay ahead economically, and then
wait for something to go, because there's no way Quinns is going to be able to score without going into without scoring out of a remote. So as long as you're in a position to pressure that said remote, which right now he's not because he hasn't got a rig up, then you're fine. But with Quinns with 4 credits, he's not in a position to score either. So occasionally checking HQ while you've got more money, and then just
I mean HQ is cheap to check. So
last click it's
cheap check and click 4. But do you want to run a click 4?
Hit snare.
Well, maybe. I mean, it's a risk. There could certainly be something. Okay, so this was an interesting play. Quinns res the Captain Investors, but the time he does it is during a run on the pad. So Tim says, I'm going to run the pad. Yeah. And before he decides to trash it, Quinn says, do you know what? I'm going to res this. To kind of say, are you actually going to bother? And Tim, in fact, decides not to bother. So he's kind of cost him a click.
Yeah.
And he's still got the pad.
So he's going to go for the Captain Investors instead.
So it's quite an interesting play. I mean, if you'd left it, if you left the Captain Investors unresed, then your pad gets trashed and you can recover. But it's quite interesting that he decides to make this decision just to kind of force the decision. And then Tim runs straight into a Cortex lock. Now this is interesting because he has no way of breaking it, and he's only got 1 MU programs in archives in his heap, I should say.
And he's got an Astro label on the table, so he's got.
That's right. He's got a clone chip. He's taken 4. He can get down to 3.
So Quinns just totally said, "Don't trust my pad campaign. Please hit my Cortex lock." And Tim said, "Yes, I think I will."
Okay, yes, sir.
That's exactly what I did.
Yeah. So I like it a lot. So he puts Parasite on Enigma. Now I think this is a strange one. Enigma is the one piece of us on the board he can actually break. He can put Parasite on anything else. Data Rave is a great example. Yeah. So I'm not sure about that, but he puts it on. Maybe he's got legwork in hand or something, and he's just kind of a little bit tunnel vision. He decides to jack out because.
So continue. He just realised
because it could be another Cortex log.
I was standing behind him going. He just took 4 net damage to a 2-cost res of ice. He's got 2 left.
Yeah. So. I mean, maybe you can't res it and you trash the Captain Investors and, you keep the pressure on and it's great and you coast to victory. But you know what? It could be a lot worse. So I think there's some cost fallacy, Sometimes you just jack out. But check on HQ just to see what's what.
But, I mean, his money's going to bounce back quickly now. Pad campaign credit, 6 off Captain Investors a turn if he wants it, 3 on the route so he doesn't have to res so much stuff. And I mean, Captain Investors is just.
Yeah, Captain Investors is good, as he proves here by just taking 6 credits. Yeah, but it's not as inflexible.
Yeah, you can take 4 and then install a piece of ice.
That's it. You can do it for 2 clicks instead of 3. Yeah, exactly right. So he's happy to take 6 from Captain Investors, get up to 10. I mean, this is a genuine problem now. If economy is the issue, then Captain Investors is just going to let Quinns take off.
Yeah, it'll only. Yeah, he needs to get a breaker up, and if he's only running Mimic, that's going to be tough as well. Maybe he needs Deus Ex.
Yeah, that's it. So maybe he's looking for the breakers now. He's doing a lot of professional contact draw.
But we've got to remember he only needs 1 more agenda, so I still favour Tim here. I still think Tim is in Quinns is going to get back economically, but as long as Tim only runs when he knows he's going to win.
So I don't know what Quinns' agenda makeup is. I don't know if he's got hostile takeovers, for instance. I mean, maybe it's possible it's all fracking and Atlas and 2-point agendas. I mean, I don't know. It's quite possible that's true. I kind of assume there's no 3-point agendas, but
I think I may have seen one. I don't know. I think it's a mix. It's a mix of things.
Okay, so the Jacksons come back, which means that Quinns can continue to filter. And with all this Jackson work, you got to feel like he has some combo pieces in hand. The only thing failing him is the actual economy. We know he's got the sea source. Because you saw him draw that earlier.
He must have at least 1 Scorch by now.
I think he may have.
Counter. So we've got to assume that's on. If we get there, he gets 6 credits behind.
And Tim's got to assume that's on as well.
Tim's too good of a player to make a speculative run, which will leave him 6 credits behind.
That's right. Yeah.
If that's not going to happen, you need to force him to run, and you can't force him to run unless you're threatening scoring out. So I think
Deus Ex. So Deus Ex will get through the Cortex lock once.
And there's a clone chip? No clone chip.
No. So let's see what's going to happen. Let's think about resing. He's got the root credits. That's right. He's got the root credits, so he can res just for the sake of resing. It's changing. So it's barrier. Just remember on barrier for now. But barrier does in the run because Tim only has a code gate breaker on the table, so it's just got to bounce and watch Quinns get richer.
Yeah, so, I mean, Quinns has really begun to stabilise this game a little bit. After losing a lot of points quite early on, I think if that hadn't happened, if the accesses had gone another way, Quinns would be looking really good now, but I can't help but think Tim just needs to see one agenda, and they must be somewhere.
And it's a game of credits now, because you can see. At this point, Tim's just one credit down. But once the pro can't click 4, he doesn't want to do anything like run anywhere that could cost him money. Yeah. So
and Data Raven also just doing the same work. Like he refuses to run Data Raven.
He basically just hasn't run R&D now, and he knows there's a Christian on R&D as well. So he can't even just do a Maker's Eye. He's got a plan for Makers with a normal R&D run.
You're not going to do that until you're close to losing.
It's a beanstalk into a double cut investors, so it's fractionally even more efficient.
It's as good as Melange.
So Quinns is on a kind of runaway Gagarin gravy train at the moment in terms of economy. But what's he going to do if he has to score an agenda? I mean, okay, I'm just going to say, Tim's rig is shot at the moment. If you've got an agenda, do you consider throwing it in, trashing capital investors? Maybe you want to make it tick a couple more turns, but that serve is pretty impenetrable. I mean, he doesn't have a reliable way of breaking the Cortex lock. Sure, he could just take it to the face.
But he just drops one SMC out of hand, and then you
walk
through it for damage,
and then get the corrode,
get the lady, break it, win the game.
Maybe right.
I
don't know what the ice behind it is.
The scoring window is going to be very hard to come by.
Yeah. What if there's a guard behind it? Never a guard.
I mean, if Quinns never tries to score, then this game just goes to time. And then if no one just runs again, this game eventually goes to time.
And Tim wins. That's right. That's true. The onus is on Quinns. Tim can play for time. He's not playing slowly, but he can
just wait to make Quinns. Quinns has to make the first move.
He shouldn't feel obliged to try and win, to try and get the game-winning agenda. He's in a winning position as it is. As long as he doesn't play, illegally slow, then fine. Okay, so I should mention the fairly major thing that happened just there, which eagle-eyed viewers will have noticed. While making change, Quinn's credit count jumped due to a clerical error. I'm going to call it an error. I would assume nothing more. I'm not going to disparage Quinn's character, but he suddenly has a lot more money than he had a minute ago. He gained about 4 credits. I can't remember the exact number. And Tim noticed this as well. Tim said, "Wow, I didn't think I had that much." He wasn't accusing him, but it was quite an interesting observation. Because suddenly he's 6 credits ahead. 6 credits is an incredibly important number in the land Netrunner.
Is that exactly what it needs to be with the link?
No, he needs to be 7 ahead.
7 with
so
the link.
He's 1 credit short.
6 if
That's
you don't
right.
have a link. Yeah.
So now there was obviously a successful run last turn. So if there'd been if he'd had 1 more credit, that's right. Then he could C-source, go all the way down 6, and he could pay,
if the route
pay 29.
For paying during traces.
Anything like that. So it's fortunate that the error didn't decide the game.
How many cards does Tim have in hand?
I think he's double scored. I think he's got 4 or more. Yeah. He's been doing a lot of professional contacts, so I don't know for sure.
Right. Well, he definitely isn't going to survive another one. 40 to 29. You can't do a speculative check necessarily this turn without.
So he does professional contacts into a same mode lucky find. Makes sense. He's just forcing, and there's a genuine time risk now because. Quinns needs to score 5 points, or he needs to score 5 points before time runs out, and he struggles. Yeah, well that's true, but it may be he struggles to do that, even if Tim doesn't run. So it may be at this point Tim can just click for credits forever, and Quinns will not actually be in a position to win. So Tim here needs to be he just needs to not be reckless. There's only 6 cards in R&D.
6 cards. That's going to be hard. There's a Jacks on the table, so that's 9 cards.
So there's going to be at least 1 agenda in HQ, presumably. There's going to be at least 1 in archives, probably. Yeah. Presumably that's where the agendas are. There might be there's 1 in R&D.
There's 12 points left in the game, and 6, 7, 8, 9. There's over a point per face down card.
Yeah.
It's
That's true. So there's almost certainly 1 in R&D. He can't make us, of course. Don't forget, because there's a Christian on R&D. That he could prime it, or he could just not run again. He could just never run. As I say, there's a definite time or even decking risk here.
I think, and if he tries to score, I think Tim gets the relevant breaker out, and I mean, he's almost gone through his deck as well. And
So, feeling the pressure, Quinns used the Jackson to return a hedge fund and 2 face down cards. And then he immediately used the Atlas counter to draw the hedge fund. So, he's basically added, there are now 8 cards then in the R&D. And he's going to play the hedge fund, and he's going to play capital investors. So he's continuing to get rich, and he's bought himself a couple of turns with Jackson in his deck.
Yeah.
But what he's not doing is scoring agendas. Yeah.
I think maybe if he can install double advance, something like Shattered Remains to bluff as an agenda.
Do you know what you want now? You want your one-off government takeover. And you do some insane, just put it down, start advancing.
Mid-season sim, and then psychographics out a
no.
government takeover for... No, wait.
So the mistake you made there, Joey, is that Quinns is in the elimination of a very prestigious Netrunner tournament, so of course he doesn't have mid-season into Psycho. It'd be crazy.
Mid-season into Psycho.
Yeah.
I think that's fine. It's into the 9-6, which is the bit that's silly.
Okay,
yeah.
that's the bit I just...
But yeah, maybe out of Wayland. Psychographics isn't a huge play card. But,
So they did a bit of... had a bit of a money fight, decided how much money they each had, and Tim decided that he was losing, so he does professional contacts for 4 clicks to get a bunch of credits and some cards, I guess.
And now, the thing is now, Tim's gone through his deck. You assume he can get in anywhere, he's just choosing not to.
Yeah, maybe that's true. He just binned a self-modifying code.
Yeah.
I mean
he's
what's
not...
What's he kept?
He can get in whenever he feels like.
Yeah, maybe he's got a handful of breakers. I don't know. All right, okay, stuff's happening. The Capital Investors has been discarded. The Root has advanced this newly installed cards, and Quinns has a 9 credit lead. If you are Tim, what do you do?
I think you let him have it.
Let me tell you what I would do. It's not going to be worth more than 3 points, so you let him have it. I mean, it could be worth more, but he's not going to get it.
If you have a...
Instead, what Tim has done is he installed R&D interface, and then he's running R&D.
I would just not run.
This is crazy to me.
Yeah, because if he whiffs it, he loses the game, right?
Yeah.
He whiffs here, then he dies.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
ballsy from Tim.
So it's Caduceus, and the thing is, it's click 2. So what's he going to do? Is he going to walk through this data raven and then clear the tag? He's going to be so poor.
Yeah.
He's walking through.
I think Tim hasn't realised that he just has to not do anything and he wins the game.
I actually think afterwards he did comment that part of him knew that he didn't need to do anything, but for some reason he felt like he wanted to win properly.
Sure.
And I guess I get that. Like, he was just carried away. He'd obviously been playing.
And also
he'd
remember,
playing all day. He's playing so long. Going to time is bad. It's just always bad. But
not in
double elimination, it's not. That's
it.
That's it. In double elimination, it's actually not. Winning going to time is fine.
I think if Tim was playing at midday, not midnight right now, I think he lets Quinns have this agenda, and if he tries to score another one, he takes it.
So here's the real thing, right? Data Raven has a trace on it, which can give Quinns a whenever he wants tag. You can't clear that. So he saw 3 non-agendas. Data Raven into Caduceus, and what the other was? Oh, he saw 2. I'm sorry, with R&D interface. That's right. So, but what I don't understand was when Tim ran through the Data Raven, Quinns did not boost the trace to ungodly levels.
He's got a Cecil.
But that costs way more. He could have just put some into it and made Tim spend some money. Anyway, now it's a follow-up Maker's Eye. Okay.
So this is 1 new card?
No, 2 new cards.
Oh, 2 new cards, yeah.
Yeah, 2 new cards. Bit of a rollback. He decided to install Mimic first. That's probably a good shout.
Yeah.
But here's what's done. He's running on click 4, and he's got a tag.
Well, he'd already died.
And he's going to get another tag.
Yeah, so this is it. He's 2 cards for the game, or he dies.
Okay, you're right. You're right.
He killed himself last
You
turn.
have summed it up perfectly, yeah.
Last click, he killed himself by running.
What he should have done is he should have counted to 5 and then pro-code. And then counted to 5 and then pro-code. And then done it twice more.
He doesn't even need to count to 5. Like, that doesn't even... I mean, you can just say pro-code 4 times plus 10. Like, that's fine.
He wants to spend a bit of time.
I don't know. That's... If you know what you're going to do, you should do that.
Here's what's relevant. Just before his run started, time was called. So this is Tim's last turn. He was...
You do nothing. You just you say a pro-code 4 times past the turn. Like,
that's it.
So time has been called.
He saw a Scorch. There's 1 more card that he's got to see. And it's not.
Oh, no way. It's an insane game.
So, okay.
Quinns was so close right then.
If that had not been that, but as Quinn said, it was incredible he hadn't already got an agenda, because there were going to be a couple in R&D, right? So
and as we knew, if Tim decided
those are the cards
not to run that turn, he guaranteed the win.
And there were a couple more in hand. So quite a ridiculous ending. So
that is a ridiculous ending.
It seems like Tim had the momentum from quite early on. He got a couple of early looks. He started to fall behind a little bit economically, but not too far. He had the vamp, which kind of bankrupted both sides. But it's fair to say that Quinns recovered from it way faster.
Yeah,
Captain Investors did work.
You can see
so much money.
You can see from that sort of mid to late game there exactly how that Gagarin deck works.
That's right.
What that Gagarin deck was doing, like it was really making Tim like question how he should play and keep up on the money.
That's it.
If Quinns had made it to that part of the game, having been only 2 points down, or like maybe no points or 2 points to Tim, I think Quinns wins that game. But when you're 6 points down, I mean, it's so hard to not lose at that point. Any agenda and you're out. And as we saw, actually, due to time, he could have just not done anything and won that game.
Yeah, so that's right. Yeah,
that was a pity. But that Gagarin deck, if it gets going before you score, it's mean.
I've read and seen and heard things about Quinns Gagarin deck when he's commented on it about how it just has good Wayland assets, and until recently there haven't been any good Wayland assets. But now there are. Like the route isn't terrible, and Captain Investors is genuinely very good.
Yeah.
And then things like Pad, that kind of thing, kind of bulk it out, and they're getting more now. It used to be all of the influence had to be on economic assets. You had to get them out of NBN or something. But now you don't. There are good in-faction assets, and when you're sitting across from a Pad which costs 5 to trash. You don't want to trash that.
Even Captain Investors, which you have to go and trash, goes from 2 trash to 3 trash and give them a credit from paywall.
If they've got paywall out, yeah, that's right. So it's so...
So that's as bad as a Pad.
Yeah.
And a Pad becomes as bad as trashing, I don't know, the route. And the route is just ridiculous to trash.
From Tim's position there, I mean, he must have been sat across the table saying, do I trash Pad? Do I trash the route? Like, these are expensive things to trash. They're going to set me back a long way. And are making successful runs to boot. Yeah. So, there's a critical point at which Gagarin becomes rich enough that you don't want to take that hit, make the successful run, and be so far down economically. Because you could just die the next turn. So you just leave it, but then they get even richer.
But the problem is at that point is when you're at the point where you are richer than them, they can't run again without dying. That's your point to start scoring, because they can't run. But that doesn't work when they're at 6 points. But that only works if they're at 2 points, and you can say, I'm going to score this, and you can't take it because you'll die. I know you can't take it because you'll die, so I'm going to score an Atlas now. Sorry about that. Yeah. When they're on 6 points, you're like, the kill threat is sort of mitigated by the fact that they only need 1 turn to win.
Yeah,
and so that's where I think it fell down a little bit in this game particularly, but it clearly was doing work throughout the day. I mean,
he got very far. I think that it may be fair to say that. I think he got a lot of distance out of the fact that it's a rare to see deck. So, in a hypothetical world, Tim plays against an RP deck in that round. He knows a lot of the decisions he's going to make before he even needs to make them.
He's probably played it a few more times already today.
So if he's facing RP, he sees a Sundew, trash it. He sees a mental health, only trash it if they've got, say, less than 5 credits. Like these are decisions that runners have already made in their head because they play against those cards so often. You see a route. What's the magic number?
When do I trash a route?
Do you trash a route when they've got loads of ice to around to res? Like if they have all their ice res, do you not bother? Is that the decision? Or maybe it's they've got less than 10, so I guess I'll trash it now. Or and Captain Investors, I guess you trash that as fast as you can. But
I've heard from people who play these. I mean, I don't play these cards, but you should trash the route and you should trash Captain Investors as soon as possible. If you can do it without dying, do it. I think is the rule.
That's it. If you can do it without dying,
at this time, and I think that is a great. Quinns is asking you questions by having invented a good deck that people aren't expecting and making them play sort of fresh, like they haven't got a game plan already. It does really well. It works wonders in this sort of tournament where, especially when you've been playing for 12 or 13 hours and autopilot is your friend.
Oh, such a long
day. And suddenly you're up against a deck where autopilot isn't an option. So it's interesting. Great deck, really interesting, and well done to Quinns for building it and for showing how great it is and how great a player it is.
That's right.
Getting to 7th or 8th in the.
That's right. Yes. So that was the loser bracket game, which meant that by virtue of losing, Quinns is now out. But as you say, he got into. I could work out here really quickly, but I don't remember. But I think you're right. I think it was 7th. I think it was 7th, 8th. Yeah. Quinns is out, but Tim will continue. So, in the next round, we're going to see...
So now can you tell us who won the other game in the winners bracket?
Sure.
Because it was running at the same time as this game.
Sure.
Yeah.
So Alex White
won.
Won in the winners bracket game.
So Mark...
To earn a seat in the final.
Final.
And Mark will play in the loser bracket final, or... Whatever. Yeah, that one.
Yeah, so
one.
Mark is chilling out for a bit. He's got a game to go.
That's
Alex
right.
is sitting in the
they
final.
both get a massive break. Mark gets like an hour. Alex gets an hour and a half. Like they both get a mad break because of the size of the.
I know Alex went for a
16.
walk because it was busy. There was
he just left,
stuff
didn't
going
he?
on. Yeah, well, you should go.
And
you shouldn't.
He could. I guess he couldn't really watch anyway. He wasn't really allowed to watch. Yeah. Mark was probably the same. He probably couldn't really watch.
There was a food hall. He'd go get a glass of water, go
That's
for a walk,
play some board games.
Maybe not. Yeah, get a game of Hive in.
Play anything but Netrunner. Yeah. Okay, so yes, but Tim will continue. So in the next game, we're going to see Dave Hoyland, defending UK champion, playing RP against, and who should be returning to camera but Seamus.
Seamus again.
That's right.
All the Seamus. He just looks so good that we just want him on camera. Yeah.
I guess that's how it works.
So he's been fighting in the losers bracket for a little while now.
So we saw his last game. He dropped loser bracket, then he got a break. So he was not playing during that game. So he comes back with Kit again. So he's going to play Kit against Dave Hoyland's RP.
Should be a good game.
That will be a good game. And I very quickly, I'd like to give a shout out to Netrunner.co.uk, who was filming the other game that's taking place this time that you should definitely go and watch. When Tim progressed, he went to play against Chris Dyer. We won't spoil anything about it, but it was hilarious, and you should watch it. You
could go watch that game now, and if you look at how long the YouTube video is, you'll be back pretty soon.
Yep.
But it's a good game. It's not like I won't spoil it, but it wasn't just Astro Train over 15 minutes. It's worth watching. Yeah, so go watch that game.
Okay, so anyway, in the other game that's taking place at that point, as I say, it was Dave Hoyland against Seamus. So we saw Dave's RP earlier, and we saw Seamus' Kit earlier. Now, any immediate thoughts on that matchup? We commented earlier that Kit is not ideal against RP.
Yeah, because the RP ability negates the Kit ability.
That's right.
He did beat Andrew.
But he did beat an RP deck
in the first round.
Yeah.
By playing really well, so maybe he's got a good shot. But you have to think on paper, Kit against RP is not a good matchup. But
it's tough.
To be this part in a tournament, he has to have taken down some RP. So
that's right.
So he clearly has a game plan for it.
There was a lot of RP.
There was a lot of RP. So
sure. Okay, great. All right. So yes, so that'll be our next game. I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Thank you, Joe, for helping me out in this video.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.